Hey. Welcome to Get Your Bell Wrestling Get Your Bell Rung Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, KG. With me is the Hall of Famer, WCW, WWF, the Cooker, Bob Cook. Also, the author of Looking Up at the Lights, WCW's own Robbie Idol. And, of course, we have the man who does a fantastic radio show called Rasslin Memories, talking about the Grizzled Vet. What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey, was I ever on that show? Because I forgot. Get it? Memories?
Yes, you were on my show, Bob.
Well, I forgot. That was a joke. It's called Wrestling. Yeah. Well, the joke was I forgot because you call it Wrestling Memories. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that. Sorry.
Of course not.
Hey, before we get into tonight's episode, we will be talking about AEW's Dynamite's Blood and Guts. Before we get into it, though, please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. I have a crap ton of great guests that I bring on. I have some great ones lined up, including people like Joe Malenko, the NWA television champion, Brodido Idol will be on as well. I have Steamboat coming on, amongst many others. Also, we have some people who are going to be watching this from another streaming service, ECUSA app on Roku. We are now located on ECUSA on Roku. All you have to do is, if you don't have that app, guys, go search it on Roku. It'll come up like any other app, like the HBO app or Netflix app, and you just download it and you can catch us on there. Not to mention, they have a lot of indie wrestling on there. They're planning on bringing a lot more professional wrestling on there. And there's some other good shows on there as well as some other podcasts. But there's no other podcast, of course, like Get Your Bell Rung Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Hey.
Because of all the people we have on here. What's up?
There's it right here, Wrestling Mine.
Yeah, but you said yours is a radio show. This is a podcast.
Yours is a radio show.
Okay, fine. All right. Semantics.
Podcast.
All right.
Can I just say this? You mentioned Brodido Idol. Can we say that the NWA is on Roku? I just said it.
Yes. NWA is on Roku. As a matter of fact, there is a wrestling channel on Roku TV where you can watch NWA Power Hour from years back on there as well. I watch it all the time. It is good shit, man. NWA right now currently is doing some great stuff. Again, like I said, Brodido Idol is going to be on the show. We're going to actually be talking about the controversy that's going on with AEW, with them bringing in the national championship belt. We're going to get, me and Brian's going to get more into that. I really don't want to touch that right now. I want it to be fresh and organic for Brian and I to talk about. But we have a lot to talk about tonight, guys, because not only will we be doing the AEW recap of Blood and Guts, but afterwards we will be honoring Eddie Guerrero by talking about Eddie Guerrero into detail. Of course, Grizzled Vet, he's going to kind of take over the show at that point, because after all, he does Rasslin Memories, and Robbie Idol, he ran off again. Hopefully he'll get that fixed to be back on. Let's get into the show. But started off right away with a women's blood and gut match. Look, and Mike, I think you said it, and I agreed, and Robbie agreed as well. And we'll get into the men's blood and gut match, but the women stole the show last night, in my opinion. That was just a fantastic match. My hat goes off to Sky Blue. She bled her ass off the entire damn match. It started off with Sky Blue in there. let's start with you, Grizzle. What did you think about AEW's Blood and Guts last night, and what you think about the women's match?
I'm gonna start off by saying, I watched it. Although unfortunately my DVR cuts off the last, so I didn't see the exact finish of the men's match. I had to go find that online. But for me personally, an hour is way too long to keep the fans' attention. Way too long. It was overbooked. It went way, and there were 2 of these hour-long matches. For me, that went too long. Both matches were good. As far as saying the women stole the show, though, I don't know if you can say that, because what we saw from the women, you were like, oh my God, wow, look at all the blood, look at all the craziness going on. So by the time the men come up, you've already seen it. You've seen the blood, you've seen all the craziness, and you're kind of desensitized to it. So, and it takes away, and I'm gonna go with what Jim Cornette says on this about War Games. If you just watch the women do this, it kind of takes away from the guys doing it, because you're like, oh, well, the women just went through and just, she bled and she went out, this happened. The guys aren't doing nothing. And I'm not saying that to fault the women. They put on a hell of a match. But I don't think it's possible to follow something like that, because you've already seen it, and it makes it harder to see the guys doing it and believe in it, because you just an hour ago saw 12 women doing the exact same thing.
I agree and disagree. And I'll tell you why. There's such a difference between the women's style and the men's style. And I want to compare to what you're saying to the Royal Rumble. We have the men's Royal Rumble and the women's Royal Rumble, right? Now, you could say that, well, if we see the men's first, it kind of takes away from the women's, vice versa. But for myself, and I can only speak for myself, it doesn't. I enjoyed the women's more because they gave me exactly what I was looking for, more so than what the men did. I mean, look, it appeared to me that the women were the ones that were actually had real blood versus the men, where the men, most of the guys who appeared to be busted open, it didn't look like they were really busted open. And you could tell the difference between someone really bleeding versus using a blood pack or whatever they use to make it look like they're bleeding. So the women, for myself, and I'm not saying you're wrong, because, that's the great thing about professional wrestling. It's about perspective, and you view what you view, and you have a right to see it the way you see it, and you're right to your own opinion. So I'll just say for myself, that's not why I enjoyed the women's match more. They just gave me more of what I was expecting in that type of a match. Robbie, go with you. Do you kind of lean more on the side of the Grizzled Vet, or do you kind of lean more of what I'm saying? Your own opinion.
I'll draw the line.
My opinion, I'm going with you. I enjoyed the women's more than the men. The only thing I saw in the women's match, there was one person that did not look like she wanted to be in that match. And that was the last one that came out, Sasha Banks. You could tell, because it looked like nobody kind of went towards her with weapons or anything. I know she went through the table at the end, but that was about it. She didn't look like she wanted to be in that match at all.
But
other than that, everybody else.
Let me ask you this question, though. And you talk about Sasha Banks? Or Mercedes Moné? Is that who you're speaking of? Okay, so
yes.
So here's the thing. Was it that she didn't want to be part of this match, or was it that because she's protected so much by Tony Khan, because that is his golden goose in his opinion, was it that they weren't supposed to go after her because they didn't want to risk injury to her? That's my question. Bob, I'll let you answer that, and then actually, it's a good question. I'll let all of you guys answer that. Go with Bob, and then we'll end up with Robbie.
I thought the women did great, and I see a lot of people online that comment that, well, I don't think the women should bleed, but here's the reality check for you. I don't think the women should believe people. If the women go out there and do the same thing that the men do, and the men bleed and the women don't, it's going to make you question, why are they not bleeding, the others are? One must be fake as opposed to the other. You know what I mean? If you're going to take chairs and all the things they did, thumbtacks and not bleed, but then the next match, everybody bleeds. It don't make no sense. So if the women are willing to bleed, I don't have a problem with it. Not at all.
Right.
It's their
Now-
forehead, not mine. By the way, I got a forehead with Joe Malenko once right here. I can stick my fingernail in it. It cuts so deep, and I can't feel a thing. 40 years later.
In regards to Sasha Banks, do you think it's the case that she didn't want to be involved like this in a match like that? Or do you think it's possibly the case that Tony Khan was trying to protect her because he didn't want her injured? Because, again, I say Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné is his golden goose.
No, I think it could be possibly she was just acting like she didn't want to be involved because she's going from being a probably smelling, incredibly wonderful woman into a ring full of DNA laying everywhere. No one really wants to do that. So she's probably just like, oh, this is going to get disgusting because everybody's bleeding.
Grizzle, going back to you, please respond to what I said about, personal opinions and I absolutely want you to respond to that. And also respond to my question about the whole Mercedes Moné thing.
I'm not a fan of the Mercedes. Excuse me, new tongue. Mercedes Moné. I'm just not a fan of her. I don't think they're paying her. I'm not seeing the thrill of it. I don't see the point in giving her all the titles. So out of all the girls in there, I agree with Robbie. She seemed the least interested. No one. And as far as I said about the women, don't get me wrong. I loved the women's match, although I do think it went a little long. An hour is a lot. And for some reason, they had 12 women and only 10. I don't know. It used to be 5-on-5. I don't know why they added the extra girls in there, but that's fine. Sky Blue, amazing. To go through it. She might have, I don't know if she kind of like meant to bleed that much though, because there was a lot of blood in that one. I don't know if that was really intentional.
Maybe
went
maybe that interrupts you, but maybe she pulled a Robbie Idol and ate Robbie Tylenol for a month to make her bleed that much.
Or she pulled an Eddie Guerrero or a Tommy Rich or a Bob Cook or a Robbie Idol, as you said. That's the thing. I saw some guy make a comment and go, well, obviously she doesn't know how to blade. I'm thinking, you idiot. There is no right way to blade. You just run that razor blade across your head and you get lucky sometimes and sometimes you don't. When you don't, you do it even more. Come on.
Right.
You don't know how to do it. How do you do it? You go like this. That's how you do it. Yeah.
That's a skill I don't think I ever want to learn. But no, I love the women's match. That's how it was great.
Well, we're going to teach you.
What I was referring to was, though, when a half hour later you go into the men's match after just watching what the women did, it takes a little bit up because you've already seen it. You've seen it to the women. And vice versa. If they put the guys match on first and the guys did all the kamikaze crazy stuff, then you go see, you're kind of desensitized because you just sat through an hour of it already. And it is kind of the same thing with the Royal Rumble, although those aren't quite as long, nor do the Royal Rumbles have to have the, like I said, the chaos that, a blood and guts match. And Tony Khan can book chaos like nobody's business.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. That's what I was looking forward to about blood and guts, is because when you give him something stupid like that, blood and guts, stadium stampede, whatever he comes up with, let him go. And it's some of the funnest stuff to watch, except for the little poof at the end of it a couple years ago when John Moxley and they had the exploding cage match thing. The match itself was so much fun until the little sparklers went off at the end of it. That kind of took it away. But when it comes to chaos, AEW does it really well. And with
let me do it again. Let me do it. Hey, now, Tony. Yeah, it's a cooker bugging you again. Yeah, lay off the coke. You're getting annoying. That match where everybody blew up and it was just a poof. Next time, kill them. Blow them up for real to make these people happy. Yeah, I understand. They're idiots, but okay, all right. Goodbye. I'll leave it alone. What's her name again? Oh, shit. I've heard of her. There you go.
As far as the match, going too long, with the women's match, that hour, it flew by for myself. The men's match is kind of drug on for me a little bit.
Because we just watched an hour of the same thing 30 minutes prior.
Right. Go ahead, Robbie.
Do 2 of those matches in one show.
Yeah, Robbie, respond to what I was saying about Mercedes Moné, and was it that she didn't want to be in there, as you said, or was it maybe that she was being protected because for whatever reason Tony Khan views her as this golden goose, which I disagree. Mercedes Moné, she's good in the ring. I don't think she's the big money women. I don't. But go ahead.
I'm just not a fan of her. I just think that she thinks she's better than she is. And maybe, for whatever reason, Tony thinks she's the golden goose or whatever. I mean, if she was in WWE, she couldn't hang with half those women in there. That's my personal opinion. As
For
far
sure
as
it
work-wise, pardon?
That's why I have to disagree with you because, again, I'm not a big fan of hers, but when she was in WWE with Sasha Banks, she did hang with those women in there. She was one of the top, on the top card.
Yeah, she was on the top card, but I mean, you think she could hang with like a Tiffany, a Sol Ruka, like a lot of the girls now? You think so?
Absolutely, especially nothing against Tiffany Stratton, not at all. She has improved so much. She's gotten so much better. But absolutely, I think that she could have hung with her, and I definitely think that she would do a shit ton better than your Nia Jax and your.
Oh yeah. But I'm saying like you take like a Sol Ruka, you take Tiffany, you take Rhea Ripley. Even Roxanne and the other one, Stephanie. I don't think she came with them. That's my personal opinion.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You go like when you're talking about the guys. The issue I had with the guys, it was a lot of one-sidedness. If you really watched it, it seemed like it was one-sided towards Moxley's crew. Like they give them a bit here and a bit there, but it was like they dominated that whole match.
Yep, and we'll get.
I think that was part of it. That was like, okay, so because I heard you guys kind of referring back and forth between them. But I mean, I thought the women were great. I mean, how Sky Blue was still standing at the end. I'll never, after dropping all that blood and everything. Even then towards like the end with Marina Sharif getting, and stuff. It was a good match. I actually enjoyed it. I was like, wow, they put this on first. I really don't care about seeing the next two matches.
Well,
go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
I was going to say I could say something, but it would be in bad taste.
I mean, there was a couple of little things in the match that I kind of shook my head at. One of those was when all of the broken glass that was in the middle of the ring that supposed to be hurt so bad, but then when I see Marina take her bare foot and twist it in there to get that on her foot to kick someone, that just kind of aggravated me a little bit. That's just a little bit. It's like, come on, let's sell it that it's broken glass better than that. Your bare feet would hurt. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, that's called being so psyched up that your only motivation is to break up the hold, to win the match. She didn't feel a thing because she was so psyched up. That's what you got to believe. It's like an idiot like Goldberg would bang his head into the door till he bleeds to come out because he's had such a complex character, even though that's stupid. But she was so psyched up, so much into the match that no pain was an option.
Okay, we can go there again. That's just me nitpicking. The next match is the match that. And look, I am.
Before we go on to the next match,
go ahead.
We haven't brought this point up. I gotta say, for me, I thought the finish of the ladies' match was an amazing finish. I liked the way they finished it because they did the whole thing with Toni Storm and they're whipping Mina, and she doesn't want to because that's her wife, as they say. She didn't want to see her suffer anymore, so she gave up. I love the finish. It was. I thought it was probably a more creative way to finish a match like that. They didn't go for. Mina didn't submit, so she looks tough. She was staying in it. She was getting whipped. They stayed with it. I love the finish of the ladies' match. The finish of the men's match, we'll talk about it. Not so much.
But didn't they do that with the men's match before? They threatened to burn somebody unless they quit or something and gave up?
No, it was they threatened to burn. I can't remember.
They lit them on. They had the lighter, and they had
threatened in order that for someone to agree to stipulation in a match.
Never mind.
It was Briscoe. They threatened to do something with Briscoe to burn him or something, unless
I just set him on fire.
Yeah. And I agree. And by the way, for some of the Cook fans,
Cook fans.
the AEW of the WWE freaking snobber knocking fans who are the ones that are so into being just only WWE. I'm a wrestling fan, so I'm into it all. But you know, a lot of them had pictures of what Tony looked like last night with her lipstick smeared and the white paint on her face, and said, "This is why she could never make it in WWE." How about go suck on a bag
Right?
of Roberts, okay? Because that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. You know, she is such a great talent. She really is. Go ahead, Robbie.
Well, I was going to say, I think that they missed out on her. I mean, you take her character now, I don't know that it'd be over. They're like in their era now because they, kind of frown upon that stuff. She might have been more of the Attitude Era or whatever, but I think they missed out on her. That there was so much like what she's shown in AEW. I think they missed out on her.
I don't know if they missed out on her or the fact that she is such a professional that she understands that she's part of getting, a lot of the other women over because they need to build these stars in AEW. And Tony's part of that. Her dropping the title to Kris Statlander, I tip my hat for her. I tip my hat to her for doing that and for being part of this because, again, you are literally laying down the foundation for the women's division there to make it a strong women's division, to make these, these young women into these legends. Grizzled Vet, what do you think? Do you agree that they missed out on Toni Storm? Or do you think that, no, this is just part of who she is, that she's helping build this women's division and making stars?
I don't think they gave Toni Storm the opportunity in WWE. I think she got that opportunity in AEW, and we see what she's able to do. I think she could have been just as successful, if not more, in WWE if they let her do more. If they let her be more of herself. I like what she's doing in AEW. I love Toni Storm. Right. She's probably one of my favorites. But no, I do think WWE missed it with the opportunity because they didn't give her the chance.
Right. Robbie, were you talking about WWE missing it, or were you talking about AEW? Okay. I misunderstood you. I thought you were saying that AEW kind of didn't really, they kind of missed it by pushing her longer as a champion. My apology.
No. I like Toni Storm. I mean, she's one of my favorites. I love the character. I love how she's worked. And I think, like when I said like WWE missed out, is kind of like what Mike said, by not allowing her to do more and stuff like that.
Right. Bob, we're going to come to you next. So you put your thumbs down. I like Toni Storm. When they went with the whole timeless Toni Storm gimmick, I wasn't a fan of it, but she's so good that she drew me in. Are you not a fan, Bob?
I'm a fan of Toni Storm when she does those post-match, after pay-per-view thing, whatever they call those, scrums, whatever they call them. I don't know. She's hilarious on those, but in the context of wrestling, she's a Danhausen. She makes a mockery of the business because her character is a clown and pony show character. It's not something you could ever possibly take serious, and it should never be your world champion. She's your world champion, should not be presented as a clown. Again, she's not bad in the ring, but her interviews and the way she carries herself in the context of the wrestling show is a clown. It's like, it's just a mockery of wrestling. But when she does those after the show things with Tony Khan and stuff, that's some of the funniest stuff ever. But that's my opinion.
I disagree because she really reminds me of a female version in some ways of, you guys probably think I'm crazy, of an Adrian Adonis. She really does. Because Adrian Adonis was out there like Toni Storm is. He would say these provocative things, just like she does. And Adrian Adonis was one of my favorite wrestling back whenever I was a kid. Grizzled Vet, you made a face. You don't see that?
No. Adrian Adonis is, I can't. I loved Adrian Adonis back then. Have you seen Adrian Adonis before? When he was doing the biker thing, I've always liked Adrian Adonis. When I was a kid, I watched that character. I don't compare Tony Storm to that at all.
But if I don't,
As much as
you
flamboyant
correct me.
Adrian Adonis was,
Yeah, hold on. You correct me. Am I thinking about Adrian Adonis, or am I thinking who was the guy that had
Adrian
the
Street.
Adrian Street. My bad.
Adrian Adonis.
okay.
Adrian Adonis. Adrian Adonis
Right.
as the biker gimmick character was fantastic.
I
He
give
was
them two
entertaining as
confused
hell.
ones.
With Dick Murdoch and him as tag team champions back in '84. Oh my God, it was entertaining as hell.
Yes.
I never liked the adorable Adrian Adonis character.
Yeah.
But he still made it believable as adorable. He could still get in there and worked his ass off when he was adorable.
Oh, he was a great wrestler. My God, he could do the flip in the corner better
Tony
than Flair ever
Storm is
did.
not in that category. Adrian Street,
No.
okay.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, yeah, there you go. You had me confused. I'm like,
Yeah. I get the two names confused a lot. Kind of like the whole Robbie Idol and Brian Idol thing. It's like it's too many, right? But yeah. Adrian Street, which
What
again,
about
I was
Billy
a fan of
Idol?
his whenever I was a kid. She reminds me kind of a female version of what he was doing back then.
That wasn't a good thing.
I disagree. He drew people because of just how unorthodox he was. Robbie,
I agree with you. I agree. I mean, you could tell. Well, and why Bob will disagree with you is because he's thinking it's a clown and pony show. I think it's her interviews, her promos are hysterical. They're great. I mean, I like the way she works in the ring, and like the way she came out last night with her face painted up and the lipstick and stuff. I mean, at least it looked like, okay, she's kind of psychotic, other than, like a couple people with their face in WWE look like rodeo clowns, but she just looked like that psychotic, and so I like her gimmick. I think I agree with you about the Adrian, and it, today's age, it's over.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Let's get to the next match. The Hangman Page against Powerhouse Hobbs. Hangman, he won the match. And again, I'm a Hangman Page fan. I am. But this match did absolutely nothing for me. I even like Powerhouse Hobbs. This match was boring for myself, in my opinion. Start with you, Bob.
I'm not a fan of Powerhouse Hobbs, but that's just me. I remember those punches, those amazing punches where you have an opportunity of a lifetime, an opportunity that even people like Robbie Idol would crave, an opportunity like Mike would crave if he was in the business, an opportunity that dead people would come back to life just to crave, besides getting the opportunity. He had it. He's on national TV, and he threw punches to his forearm. Not a fan of that kind of activity, no matter what you are, who you think you are. Hobbs.
Go with you, Grizzle.
What could they have done to make that match? They're doing a Falls Count Anywhere match in between two double ring steel cage blood and guts matches. What could they have done to?
Yes,
I almost would have maybe gone with two different guys, 2 out of 3 falls scientific encounter. To kind of cleanse your palate, like when you're at a food station, they give you like the cracker to cleanse your palate. Something to cleanse your palate to get you ready for the next match. There's nothing those guys could have done. The match was okay. It was passable. There was that one spot off the table where Hobbs didn't put his spine up through, because he did the backdrop. He landed on his ass. He landed sitting on that floor. How he was able to get up and continue, I don't know. I think I would be, crying for a month, but that was a little bit much. But there's nothing they could have done.
Right.
It's too much in between two of those cage matches. I would have gone, like I said, with a scientific encounter or something. Let's do a cruiserweight match, something different. And then the fans freaking like go, oh, okay, cool. And then they get set up for, they just throw in a Falls Count Anywhere, do whatever the hell you want. Well, dude, we just saw these women, tear each other up for an hour. We know we're going to see the guys doing crazy shit. Darby Allin's in it. That's going to happen. Okay, let's watch this one. They're not going to match up to it. The match was decent. It was passable, And then on any other show, it might have been like the main event. It might have been a great match, but to compare it in between the two, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, and you are dead on, because as I said that, and as you started talking, I'm like, you're right. Because if this would have been any other regular Dynamite, I probably would have enjoyed that match more. But because of the fact of Blood and Guts is literally this massive hardcore anything goes match, and now you're basically adding a small one-on-one hardcore match, you just couldn't add up to what we've seen. So therefore, it came across boring, but only because of what we just saw. Robbie, your thoughts?
Wasn't a bad match. I totally agree with you because you stuck it in between the two. I like Hobbs. And I have like kind of even though I never met Powerhouse Hobbs, I kind of have a connection because I have a friend of mine that I met through bodybuilding. When him and Billy Gunn had a supplement company. I don't know if they still have it or not, but because he knew Billy, he's an IFBB pro, and he helped some of the guys in AEW with their diet and stuff. And Hobbs was one of those guys. And Hobbs is a power lifter and stuff like that. So, I like him. Even though I don't know, we kind of have that connection stuff because I've competed in powerlifting. I know the guy that's kind of helped him with his diet, stuff like that. I liked him even before that. Page, I liked him in the beginning. I just something about him now that he's okay. He's okay and stuff.
I can tell you what it is. I feel the same way about Adam Page. I love that unpredictable Adam Page. Whenever he was feuding against Swerve, he was crazy, intense. And my fear was when I seen him being turned back into babyface was that he was going to lose that intensity. And that's when the fans really started to clamor for Hangman Adam Page, was when he was that heel, that angry, unpredictable, nutso type of a guy, because his first run as champion it went terribly bad. The fans didn't want him. And I see kind of the same thing starting to happen here. If he's going to be a babyface, in my opinion, fine. Have him a babyface, but have him that babyface that's still the unpredictable, angry guy that will still go burn down somebody's fucking house, especially if you mess with his family, right?
Right.
So could that be the case for yourself, of maybe why you're kind of some of those interest in him?
Possibly. I liked him even when he was in Ring of Honor and stuff. I didn't, I thought he was good. There's just something that, maybe in that that just kind of was like, Adam Page, and it could be. It was, just kind of like off the wall stuff, like you said, like I'll burn your house down, this, that, and you can see he's trying to bring that intensity back and stuff like that. It just, I don't know, there's just something there.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not sure if you could curse or not, being that we're going to be on ECUSA, so I'm gonna have to write down a big "don't drop the F-bomb" because that's my favorite word.
Oh, fuck.
All right.
By the way, we got to admit that whole house burning thing was a fantastic thing back when they did it, because they had everybody fooled. It proved that kayfabe wasn't dead. They had news reports. What is it, that Strickland kid?
Yep.
That he bought his childhood home and then they do that at the end of the show. I thought it was fantastic.
I did too. But that leaves me the question for both to you, Bob, and we'll start with you and with the Grizzled Vet. Can you have that baby face that's still that unpredictable, off the wall guy that Adam Page was, that goes around burning people's houses if need be? Do you think that's still possible to do, Bob?
Yes, with the right person, but who's the right person and who's the right person behind them? That's the key. You got to have the right person behind them to guide them in the right direction. If you don't have that, you're a lost soul, kind of like me. I live in total darkness. That's what it's. Oh, wait a minute. What happened? Holy shit. Look out.
Now I'm going to call you Al. So,
well, at least I'm here.
You're right. Grizzled Vet, same question.
I agree with Bob. With the right person, yes, you can do it. But you got to have the right person. And who's that going to be?
Right. Well, we know that
probably bring back that Marco Stunt kid. I think Marco Stunt's the kid to do it with.
He's selling cars now. What Robbie was saying about Adam Page, I'm looking at it. He had the same problem the first time he was champion. He had a great storyline. You were into his character. He was, waiting for it, and he got the title. And then when it gets the title, they don't have anything to do with him. They have nothing. There's no program for him to work. There's nothing, and it kind of fails. You want to see Adam Page chasing the title, but then as soon as he gets it, they just kind of go, okay, he's got the title. Yay, we're just going to put it in, and everybody's going to love him. No, because that's taken away from what everybody liked about, Adam Page. And the same thing you're saying, he burned the house down, which was a great story because, you saw it on the Twitter and the news feed. Oh, he bought his childhood home. And that was great. I love it when stuff like that happens. But then, okay, now he becomes babyface, chase the belt. You're like, okay, cool. And that happened here all in Texas. I was supposed to be at that show. I wasn't able to go. But unfortunately, still it happened here. And you were excited when he got it because he defeated Moxley and the Death Riders ended. He got the belt out of the briefcase. You're like, yeah. And then, okay, now he's got the belt and we don't know what to do with him again. And I think that's Adam Page's kind of thing. You want him to be the guy chasing the belt, to be the conquering hero. And then when he is, you kind of go, okay, the hero's got the belt. And okay, wait until somebody else comes along. It happened with the first run he had. They're doing the same thing again, unfortunately.
Yep. After the match, we seen the rest of the ops come out with Samoa Joe. And as Samoa Joe was lowering the cage, of course, we seen Eddie Kingston kind of wobble to the ring with Hook running into the ring, which now has led us to Paige saying, all you had to do was ask for a cage match if that's what you want. So the next pay-per-view is going to be Adam Page against my mom and Blake. Samoa Joe for the title. I don't know what to think about this. Putting Eddie Kingston involved, I want to be an Eddie Kingston fan so much so. But before we go there, there was, I think, Robbie, you might have sent me the video of his interview with Bubba, and with Bubba compared him to what legend? I can't remember what legend it was.
Oh my God.
Wasn't it the Dusty Rhodes? Robbie Idol?
What video are you talking about?
There was a video where Bubba was interviewing Eddie Kingston, and Eddie Kingston was compared to this legend. Let me see who the legend was. It was Bubba Ray Dudley doing the interview, and he said that he was better than, let's see what legend, and I had to laugh because I was like, come on, man. Let's see which legend. To Dusty Rhodes. He told Eddie Kingston that he was better than Dusty Rhodes. He was as big as Dusty Rhodes. He looked like the everyday common man, and that's what he liked.
Dusty Rhodes, maybe weight-wise.
Holy crap. Can we just all have a moment of silence as the legendary American Dream spins in his grave? Eddie Kingston couldn't sell out a VFW Hall in the main event against freaking anybody. Jesus.
Yeah, and look again. I want to be an Eddie Kingston fan. I really do, but he just.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to compare him to Dusty Rhodes. What was it a few weeks ago? They said that John Moxley is the modern day Harley Race. What the hell?
Look,
are we comparing these guys to Harley?
We know that
is Orange Cassidy the next Ricky Steamboat, or no, Speedball Mike Bailey?
We know that Blubber Ray. We know Blubber Ray is way overweight, but does that affect your brain too? I know that the fat is hugging his heart, but does it hug his brain too tight too? Is that how that works? I should know I'm fat too. I'm not just point out the obvious, but Jesus.
Yeah, I mean to compare guys like that, to Dusty was one of the greatest, Harley Race was one of the greatest. I mean, when Eddie Kingston's career's over, nobody's going to say he was one of the greatest. I mean, he can't cut promos. He can't work like those guys did. Like Bob said, he couldn't sell out of VFW. Where Dusty and Harley and all those guys were selling places out. They were They were the top guys.
What, Eddie come back from an injury in worse shape than when he left? I mean, who does that? Jesus. If I did that, they would think less of me. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind.
Well, there's one thing I know for sure is I am going to scratch Eddie Kingston off of my list of people who come on this podcast.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Hey now. Just let me have a round. I'd love to interview Eddie Kingston.
Never say never. No, I've seen Eddie Kingston.
I like his work.
Yeah, don't ever.
mind him.
Don't say never.
I don't mind him, but I'm not going to compare
don't.
Rhodes.
I've seen Eddie Kingston cut an awesome promo before.
Yeah. What made Eddie Kingston, though, was that article about a year or two ago in the Players Tribune. They had this huge backstory on him and his story growing up, and everybody fell in love with Eddie Kingston.
Right.
And that's what kind of put him over the top. It's on an indie level. Eddie Kingston isn't, bad. He came out during that open challenge thing, I believe, that Cody Rhodes was doing when he was the TNT champion. But that also brought out guys like, War Horrors, and because it was a chance to spotlight indie guys that Cody wanted to work with. And that's where Eddie came from. And on the indie scene, he was one of the guys. But so are guys like Nick Gage and stuff like that. I don't think you're going to compare Nick Gage. Is he like as great as Abdullah the Butcher? I mean, who are we going to compare Nick Gage to?
Right. By the way,
he was an indie darling. That's what Eddie Kingston was. He was an indie darling. Everybody loved him on the indie scene.
Terry Zeller, WWF guy, WWF wrestler, Terry Zeller. Also, he's a trainer. Friend of mine says, Eddie Kingston, who? Look, I'll be honest. There was a time I was a fan of Eddie Kingston. I really was. When AEW was new, I was first introduced to Eddie Kingston. I liked him, but there's just something over the years that has just that's fallen by the wayside for myself with Eddie Kingston, and I'm just not able to reinvest into him for some reason. Now, the question is this, guys. Are you guys clamoring to pay the $39.99 or the $49.99, depending if you have HBO Max or not, to get the next pay-per-view, to see that Hangman Adam Page against Samoa Joe cage match? Robbie, are you jumping up and down like an excited kid, excited fan? Yes.
Unfortunately, no. No. I wouldn't spend the $39.99 on that. It doesn't appeal to me. I'm sorry.
Bob, I can almost go ahead, Eddie. I'm sorry, Robbie. Go ahead. Go ahead.
30?
Are you done?
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Bob, I can almost get your answer.
In something that Eddie Kingston and Samoa Joe know all too well, $39.99 can buy a lot of donuts. So I'd much rather spend the money on donuts. Eclairs. I like the eclairs with chocolate on top, cream in the middle.
You know what?
That kind of stuff. And some milk, ice cold milk.
Bob, in all fairness, yeah, Samoa Joe is a bigger guy, but he is definitely more in shape than Eddie Kingston. He seems like he's not a sloppy big guy.
Well, he's in A shape. I don't know about us shape. In shape, but us shape. Yeah, he's A shape, but not us. Yeah, never mind.
I am a Samoa Joe fan. I am.
He's good on that show, Twisted
Metal. He's absolutely great. He's great.
He doesn't say anything, but he's good in the character.
In the ring, I enjoy some of his work. He makes me laugh. I love he just kind of nonchalantly walks away from a guy as the guy's in the mitt doing his move to make the guy miss or whatnot. I like some of Samoa Joe's work. I loved him in TNA. Grizzled Vet, are you counting down those days until that pay-per-view, which is, by the way, a week from Saturday? Are you counting your money out and saving it so you can get this pay-per-view because of this match?
Absolutely not. As we've said before in past episodes, I ain't gonna lie. I'm like many other Americans out there. I stream. I have a streaming site. I haven't paid a dime for an AEW pay-per-view in years. I watch a stream, and if Bob remembers, I might have to send it to him again. I did send him the link so he could actually watch the show for free.
I wondered who did that. Yeah, you got to send that again.
I'll send it again so you can see it for free. Robbie,
can I get the show from last night? So I can rewatch.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, that would be on there. All the TV is on this site and everything. So
Yeah, we're talking about the same link, which I won't give it away. And I agree, but there are times that I have paid for pay-per-views.
I used to pay for WWE pay-per-views back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all
so
did.
do we. We used to get together like me, Robbie, Jay Goodley. God bless Jay Goodley. He just had open heart surgery and he came through with flying colors. Love you, Jay. Nick, Jay, Robert, Robbie. We always used to get the pay-per-views every year. It was a tradition to watch WrestleMania at my house on a 20-foot screen. It was awesome, but those days are over. So where's the Undertaker? I don't mean the one from wrestling.
Yeah, I haven't.
I want a cream-colored coffin. Oh.
I've bought a few AEW pay-per-views, but no, not anymore. Am I going to watch this pay-per-view? Yes, because like I said, it's free. It's would I pay the $40 to watch it on Max? No.
Right. All right. Next, and this may be out of order for some reason. I think I put it out of order. I don't know why, but we'll talk about it anyway. Now, let me say this: Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was advertised to be on last night. Ricky Steamboat was on last night. For those who don't know why Ric Flair wasn't there, he did show up. He was backstage. Ric Flair recently tore his rotator's cuff, and he left early because of the amount of pain that he's in. Let's not forget, he's 70, I think, 1 years old or something like that.
76, I think.
Or 76 years old.
I think. I don't really look.
Yeah. Regardless, he was in a lot of pain and he left. And look, I've had rotator cuff. I've torn my rotator's cuff. I'm having to have surgery, and this shit does hurt. So I'm not going to even hold it against him, the fact that he had to leave because of that. But Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was there. He showed up in the ring. He was being interviewed by Tony Schiavone, and of course, FTR. They showed up, and they tried to make a mockery out of him, and then they eventually went to. I thought Ricky was going to actually take a real bump. He was picked up to do a body slam.
Glad he didn't.
And then Brodido, Bandito, and Brody King showed up to make the save. Guys, what you guys think about this? Start with you, Grizzled Vet. What'd you think about this segment?
Just a chance for the audience to come down a little bit before they go for the next blood and guts match, and also just to further, obviously, the tag title match between FTR and Brody King and Bandito. Ricky Steamboat was not going to take a bump. There's no way.
I figured as much.
Age-wise. And as far as Flair, well, it's been cool to see Flair. I mean, who doesn't like to see Flair? But I don't want to see him in the ring getting physical. And if he'd have been in the ring, it would have been Steamboat, him both going after FTR for a second. And I don't want to see Flair throwing a punch anymore or throwing a chop because it looks so sad.
Let me tell you this. So
Steamboat's at least passable, and FTR sold for him like they're supposed to. They're probably like little kids going, "I get to sell for Ricky Steamboat." Yes.
Before I knew, I did find out after the show, whenever I did some research about him Ric Flair tearing his rotator cuff. So I didn't know this. So as I seen FTR show up, as I seen them put their hands on Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, I swear to you, my first thing that went through my head, I told my wife, I said, please don't tell me that we're going to hear Ric Flair's music come on and have Ric Flair be the one to make the save. Because I swear to you, at that point, as much as I love Ric Flair, I would have turned off AEW. And I said to hell even with doing a recap. Because that would have been ridiculous. It really would have. Bob, what'd you think about this segment, man?
Well, you're talking about Flair's punches. In his day, he had one of the best punches in the 100+ year history of professional wrestling. And I get what you're saying. And Flair did appear before the crowd, and he was going around. He was wearing a sling during the day, and when he came out in front of the crowd and speak, he didn't have the sling on. It just wasn't shown on TV. But you talk about Flair's punch. Those punches when they got in their little melee at the end with Brody King, the big tattooed freak you guys should love. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. On levels that if they were true steps, they would reach to the moon. Ridiculous. National TV. In the Iron Sheik, honor the Iron Sheik. Boy.
Now, before we get to you, Robbie, someone that FTR came out and said recently, which I found interesting, I didn't know this. Apparently, Stokely Hathaway, who is now FTR's manager, apparently Stokely Hathaway was originally hired by AEW to be FTR's manager in the beginning, but because of the fans clamoring on to FTR, that's when they went into a different direction with the FTR at the time. But I found that interesting. I could never imagine, I would have never imagined in a million years Stokely Hathaway with an FTR. Just, they didn't look right at first. Now I like the pairing. But yeah, just a little bit of information on there.
Can I ask Robbie Idol something?
Go ahead.
Robbie, do you remember the tag team here in Florida, the Smurfs?
No.
Oh, well, that's who FTR reminds me of. And by the way, to put myself over, I wrestled Ricky Steamboat several times. One of the absolute greatest to ever step foot on the canvas.
Terry Zeller said, I would watch it. Talking about the AEW pay-per-view. If it was free.
Well, it is. Just to some of us, wink, wink.
Did you enjoy this segment
It's
with
not hard
Ricky?
to find the spots, I'm telling you.
No, it's not.
It's
Was it
not.
hard? Did you enjoy seeing Ricky Steamboat? And did you enjoy FTR coming out to whip his ass and everything that happened?
Not really. I mean, I know it was supposed to serve a purpose and set up between, Brody King and Bandito and stuff like that, but not really. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't, for whatever reasons, and I have friends that, that really like FTR and they're good workers and everything, and I know that they kind of do the old style stuff. I was never a fan of them, like way back, even in WWE or anything. For whatever reason, I couldn't put my finger on it. Why? I just not a fan. I know that they're kind of old school and stuff like that. I just, like I said, I can't put my finger on why I'm just not a big fan of them. And I'm not really a fan of Stokely. What I have an issue with, I guess, in today's wrestling world, with Stokely, Don Callis, and a lot of the managers, they all interfere, and they constantly interfere. And I'm going to say, back in the day, like when those guys interfered, at least there was a consequences. At one point, you'd see something happen to him. You'd see Hump, if he Humperdinck when he interfered, or a couple other guys. You would see, like, okay, eventually they get their dues paid to them. These guys are just constantly interfering and nothing happens to them. So it's just kind of, old having them out there with, like, how many fans, if they trashed out Don Callis one time, how, it would be over, but they don't, and I guess I have issue with that stuff. Same like Stokely, he interferes, nothing happens to him.
Right. With Stokely, he's kind of grown on me a little bit. Some of the things he says, they're funny. Now, as far as the FTR, I've always been a fan of FTR. I was not a fan of how Vince McMahon was booking, or Vince McMahon's creative team, I should say, was booking FTR in WWE, kind of making a mockery out of him, in my opinion. But I like FTR. I like FTR at AEW. I loved when Tully Blanchard was with those guys because they are a throwback, which I do enjoy. But, and I'm going to ask you guys the same questions I asked you about Hangman Page with Samoa Joe. Does this make you excited for this match between Brody King and Brodido against FTR? Brodido against FTR. Go ahead, Grizzled.
No.
Honestly, there's never really anything about an AEW show that gets me in, because their pay-per-views are just 4-hour versions of their TV. There's nothing really ever special about an AEW pay-per-view.
I completely disagree with that. Yeah. I keep on saying that if they could book their weekly shows like they do their pay-per-views are always on fire. Such amazing matches. And it seems like as soon as it's on regular TV, the fire leaves. I love their pay-per-views. I prefer AEW's pay-per-views over WWE's pay-per-views, but that's just my opinion.
What? No. Tony needs to learn how to book a smaller show. I mentioned All in Texas here just a few, a little bit ago, earlier segment when Hangman won the title, right? Mm-hmm. Remember how long that show was? Remember how long that was?
Okay, but we're talking about look how many matches. Look how many matches compared to WWE.
Right, but it started at 1:00 and ended at 8 p.m. 7 hours.
But WWE does the same thing,
right? Stadium seat for 7 hours, and I start to lose my attention.
WWE books the same long shows, except they have 4 fucking matches. That's it. At least we're getting 6 matches.
5. But at the end of WWE show, I'm not sitting here going, okay, I'm burned out. I gotta stop. WWE gives me enough where I kind of go, okay, that was good. I'm not saying they put on great shows, but they give me enough where I enjoy it. And AEW, All In 7. I didn't watch other wrestling shows. I didn't watch Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, nothing for like 2 weeks because of 7 hours of a pay-per-view. Tony needs to look at WWE and maybe book it down, maybe not down to 5, but you don't need 13 matches. Every pay-per-view doesn't have to be Mania length. Save the 13 match show for your All In. Save it for your whatever your big show is, because I don't know which one is their big show, whether it's Double or Nothing, it's All In or whatever it is. Save it for All In. Let that be your 13 thing. Don't book every show like you're booking your WrestleMania. WrestleMania is 2 nights. Okay, WrestlePalooza isn't. There's a reason why WrestleMania is 2 nights. That's their biggest event of the year. That's the granddaddy of them all. Okay, don't book a 13-match card every stinking pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Tony Khan overbooks on his
like I said, I like AEW pay-per-views. At least I feel like I get my money's worth. But again, opinion.
You're getting like 5 hours for your money, but you're tired. You're burned out.
Yeah, I get it. Let's go next.
So many multi-man matches. Let's have 7 multi-man matches so I can book 50 guys on my card and you can see everybody on my roster because I'm paying them. You don't have to see everybody on every show, Tony. I'd love to get Bob's opinion on this.
I enjoy it.
On his pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's fine. Bob, your thoughts on it, then we'll get to the next segment.
Well, I have 5 points, maybe 6 if I can remember. 1, Saul Oliver Humperdinck had an awesome punch. 2, what's the name of that FTR guy with the hair?
That's Cash Wheeler.
Cash Wheeler.
The best thing he ever did was back when Bret Hart was doing the Hall of Fame and he got attacked by that guy and they were dragging him out and that guy sucker punched him. That was the best thing he's ever done. The other point, nothing they did last night makes you want to buy the AEW pay-per-view. And the last point, I guess it's only 4 points because I forgot the other 2. I've never understood anyone, and no offense to Michael, that would complain that they're getting more when they're paying more. It's like, okay, when you're done watching the AEW show, what are you going to do? Are you going to go write a book, going to read a book, going to take a nap, or are you going to watch something else? If your choice is watching something else, shut the F up and watch the wrestling. What's the difference? It's all the same process. Sitting, eyes glued to the TV, you're watching, and you're paid for it too. Years ago, they used to get pissed off when a WWE show ended 2 hours and 45 minutes when it should have ended 2 hours and 55 minutes. It's craziness to me. And now it's like the people who complain about the WWE, they have 2-hour pre-shows. Well, the last time I looked, and I never actually looked, but the last time I thought about it, which was right now because I'm talking about it, nobody in the history of my life has put a gun to my head and said, Bob, you have got to sit on your fat ass, drink a Mountain Dew, and watch that entire 2 hours. That is your requirement in life. And if you don't do it, you're going to be cursed. I've been cursed already because of where I am. But if you're not going to watch it, you're cursed. No one ever did that. You don't have to watch it. It's an option they're giving you. 2 hours pre-show, watch it, don't watch it, it don't matter. It's there. It's your choice what to do with it, but to bitch about it is beyond comprehension of normal thinking because it's not a requirement. Now I'm getting pissed. I got to call my therapist. Oh shit, I don't have a therapist. What's his number? How do I have a number? I don't have a number. Jesus.
This is what I'm looking forward to, KG. My chance to set off the cooker.
Oh, but I've been having heart problems lately, so keep it up. We're going to have a live execution by myself.
Let's go
Heart
next to
attack.
the next segment, which was the Don Callis family. The Don Callis family attacked Jack Perry and Luchasaurus.
Oh,
with
my
John
God.
Alexander restraining Perry while Dan Callis delivered the message alongside the Young Bucks and Okada. Okada told the Young Bucks it was decision time. Regarding joining the Don Callis family, referencing Kenny Omega's return. Look, they're not booking this, in my opinion, very well, unless they're going to fool me, because I think that we're about to see the Young Bucks turn into baby faces. At least that's the way it's looking for me. At me, according to their body language, being familiar with the Young Bucks. But who knows? Maybe they're doing that to fool me that they really will join the Don Callis family. But let's not forget that throughout the history of the Young Bucks and the Don Callis family, they've never liked Don Callis. Start with you, Robbie.
Yeah, I mean, are we looking at a Young Bucks Kenny Omega reunion? I kind of, unless there's a swerve in this, you kind of, because you saw the look on both their faces after, and it's like, we're not joining this thing. That's kind of the impression I got. You wonder, is it going to be the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, reunion? Hard to say.
Right.
I mean, if they do join Don Callis family, here we go again. We're bringing everybody and their mother into this thing. So I mean, how many more people can you bring into this? I mean,
Right.
Okay, are we going to bring the Young Bucks in because we're going to lose to Takeshita because he's going to feud with Okada? Okay, so now and then we're going to have Briscoe lose to Kyle Fletcher, and here we're going to bring three for one in. We're going to lose to Takeshita, so it's going to take these three guys to make up for Takeshita. I really hope they don't bring the Bucks in. I'd rather see the Bucks and Kenny Omega reunite and see the Bucks join Don Callis.
Right. I agree. But yeah, I think that they're creative wise and the expression, I think that's going over about as well as Robbie Idol's internet service, to be honest with you.
Oh,
Bob Cook, do you give a damn about this either way? Let's just be honest. Let's just ask a
No.
direct question.
Don Callis is like one of the most boring guys in the world. It's like Paul Heyman. Once he opens his mouth, it's like, yay. Give me some Doritos, spice up my life, because they're not doing it.
Oh, Grizzled Vet.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know there was a Don Callis segment on the show. I do not remember this. I might have been doing something because I was finished watching it this morning while my kids were getting ready for school. Are the young? I'd hope not, because like Robbie said, Briscoe is probably going to lose to Kyle Fletcher, and so we're going to have that. I'm forced to be a part of the family until 3 months down the road. He gets one more match where he's either, if he wins, he leaves the family. If he loses, he must retire or something stupid like that. We see that. But one thing I'm hoping we don't see, and because Tony can't book originality to save his life, there's also that possibility of that swerve where even though he's fought with him for all these years, all this time, Kenny Omega turns and joins the Callis family. Kind of like a la a few years ago, many years ago, when Stone Cold, who fought with McMahon forever, all of a sudden became his ally.
Yeah.
It's an old storyline. We've seen it, and Tony loves booking old shit. I don't want to see Kenny Omega. Sorry if I cuss. I don't want to see Kenny Omega join, but I could see it happening.
Yeah, well,
it's just a bad storyline. But hey, not like as Bob, I'm sure would agree. There's a lot of bad storylines.
So,
Yeah.
I do agree. I don't want to see Omega join Don Callis, but
you could see it happening though.
Well, I could, because if you really think about it, throughout AEW since they started, Kenny Omega has been heavily affiliated with being with Don Callis more so than he has it. He spent 2 or 3 years, well, maybe not that long, but it seemed like that long because I am not a Don Callis fan either. But he spent a couple of years. Matter of fact, that's how Kenny Omega won his first title in AEW from Hangman Adam Page, I think it was with Don Callis interrupting or interfering. So yeah, I agree that I could see it happening, and it's not so far-fetched just because of the relationship. Do I want to see it happening? No, because like Robbie has said, and I've been bitching about it. It gets to a point where you have so many people in a stable that it becomes ridiculous to me. It becomes a joke. Bob, where we go with this, man?
I would like to cross-examine the witness and say, Michael, when your kids go to school, how long are they gone?
They come back like later in the afternoon, 4 or 5.
Yeah, but how many hours is that?
Probably about 5-6 hours, huh?
Well, no, leave around 7:45, 8 hours.
So you got no problems with your kids going to school for 8 hours, but you got a problem paying for a pay-per-view that lasts 7? What is going on? I
already told you, Bob, I don't pay, which makes it even worse.
Oh, wait a minute. That's even worse. You're complaining about something for free. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I get tired, Bob. Like you, I'm getting old. I can't that long and watch. It tires me out. It hurts my brain.
All right, guys. Next, we go to the men's blood and guts match. Again, it was okay. They obviously did much better than I could ever do in the ring. But this match was a little long for me. I don't know. Like I said, I think it was much. The women's was much better. Couple key moments. It started with Mark Briscoe being attacked backstage with Roderick Strong taking his place initially. Now let's stop right here for a second. I want to know where they're going with
Roderick. Was that like halfway through the match?
No, that was right at the beginning before the match started.
Did I watch the show this morning? I am missing something.
Yeah.
I know Briscoe was supposed to come out. They couldn't find him. They went into the back looking for him and all that, and they found him beat up there. But I thought he was like the third or fourth guy coming in to.
Yeah, he was number 3. You were right.
Yeah,
he was number 3.
Before he even started, though, it's whenever they found him, or maybe I'm fucking wrong. But the point is this.
Oh, wait a minute.
But the point is this. Roderick Strong agreed to take Briscoe's place. Now, what I want to know is where they're going with Roderick Strong, though, because at times it looks like there's a little bit of friction. Roderick Strong kind of doesn't want to be a part of this group. I'm really expecting them to find out that Roderick Strong somehow was the one to attack Mark Briscoe. But then again, Mark Briscoe wasn't knocked out. So how would that explain that? I don't know. But that's one thing that happened. Then we had Darby Allin later on who hit a coffin drop from the cage and was later thrown through flaming tables by Pac. Then we had Mark Briscoe eventually arrived and brawled with Yuta on top of the cage. It was everywhere, in my opinion. Let's start with Robbie. What was your thoughts on this whole men's blood and guts match?
My thoughts. It was okay. It was okay. It just like the storyline, and I didn't understand. Okay, like you had Moxley's crew basically got the best of those guys. And now you got to bring out another guy to interfere in here to throw Darby through the flaming table. You know, why are we bringing this guy out when they're like, you know, already kind of dominating this match as it is? It kind of didn't make any sense. And then so now you're bringing an extra person out while they're dominating. And then, you know, now you see Moxley at the very end tap out. It just, I don't know. It was all over the place. It just it was okay, you know, for what it was. It was okay. At times, it just didn't make sense, you know. And like I said, it kind of got boring because it was like one-sided. It was just like more of, you know, Moxley and his crew were like dominating this thing, you know. And it was good to see Moxley lose at the end and stuff like that, but it got a little boring. And it wasn't because of what happened in the beginning, you know, the women or anything. It was just like, okay, you know, they just dominated the match.
Yeah. The worst part of the match for me, and it wasn't because it was bad, it's because that I personally am definitely afraid of heights. And to see Yuta and Briscoe up in the cage, knowing just how crazy and the shit they do in AEW. Oh man, I was like, because I just knew someone was going to die. I just knew that table was right below there, and I was waiting for Briscoe and Yuta to be throwing off the top of the cage and killing themselves, getting that table. Thank God that didn't happen. But man, that was too intense for myself because of me being afraid of heights.
Right. Well, I figured. Well, I figured when you saw that Briscoe was up there, and who was on the table before he moved, and Briscoe was at the edge, and you're like, God, I hope you hit this thing, And I'm thinking he's going through an empty table. The dude's going to move when he comes jumping off, and I'm like, not good, not good. But thank God they didn't do that. I mean, I'm not fond of height either or anything, but yeah, when I saw him up there, I'm thinking, oh, he's going through an empty table, and hopefully he doesn't kill himself.
Yeah, and again, guys, because I don't want to hear anybody. We're talking about those bad. That was also being up there. I'm not saying it was the worst as far as it being bad. I'm saying for myself, just seeing it, I was just like, oh my gosh. Bob, go to you. What did you think of this whole freaking thing? Once again, seeing Darby Allin thrown off the thrown into a flaming table. Matter of fact, you came back at one point last night and said, what's the chances that this kid is going to end up in a wheelchair before his wrestling career is over with? Your thoughts on this, man?
Would you realize if Dar Robinson was still alive, or Buddy Joe Hooker wasn't 83 years old, and you probably know who I'm talking about. They're the great Hollywood stuntmen. If they said, we got this gag for you, we're going to pick you up over our heads 10, 20 feet or whatever it was, and throw you through this flaming table with no protection, you know what they'd say? They'd say, you're an idiot. I'm not stupid. That's just the stupidest crap ever. You know what I mean? He is getting up in a wheelchair. There's no doubt in my mind. Eventually he'll end up. If not, he's got to be riddled with pain. He's like the Hardys. They can barely walk. And they did some stupid crap and still do. Why, I dropped my phone. Oh my God. I'm talking to a beautiful black woman right now.
Grizzled Vet. First off, let me say this, guys. And I want to say this live on a podcast. Both Robbie Idol and Grizzled Vet, man. Thank you guys both for coming on this podcast and becoming an additional part of this podcast. You guys have added so much to this podcast. I really enjoy having you guys on. I absolutely love having conversations with both of you. So again, thank you for being a part of Get Your Bell Rung Pro Wrestling Podcast. I know both of you guys are very, very busy. Grizzled Vet, you have your own show. Robbie Idol, you're still doing things within the industry here, plus your own company. So thank you for dedicating your time to be on the show. I really appreciate it. Grizzle, man, what'd you think about this whole match?
I'm already tired of talking with you, actually. But no.
Well, it's going too long. It's going too long.
Can I interrupt for a second? Then, if you're tired of talking, I'll take your place. And thank you for the kind words. I greatly appreciate you thinking highly of me to have me on for your show. So I greatly appreciate you, KG. I can't thank you enough. So I thank you. So, all right. Sorry to interrupt, Mike.
real quick, Grizzle, before you go, Robbie, you know what? Thank you. And again, I love having you on. Although I have to be honest with you, I don't love your damn internet, man. Give that shit.
I know. I'm not happy with it either.
Go ahead, Grizzle.
All right, KG. I'm just joking with you, man. I enjoy being on here every week. Here, you and I kind of met by some happenstance through you going to CAC, and it just kind of rolled into this. Perfectly happy. You love being a part of this show, getting to talk with Robbie, getting to piss off the cooker up there. That's always fun. I'm sure he gets off this show going, Mike's a funny. But real quick, you mentioned Rasslin Memories. I am going to say that we are going to be having Robbie Idol as a guest on our show in the next couple weeks, either next weekend or Thanksgiving weekend. We are recording with him next Saturday for a future airing. So he will be a guest on our show to talk about his time WCW working in Florida, and we're going to talk about his amazing book, which I am in the process of finishing up right now. But as far as the men's blood and guts, I have an issue with the blood and guts matches because every year it has to go up on top of the cage. Thanks to Jericho, because we all remember the infamous spot where Jericho went off the top of the blood and get through the pile of cardboard boxes on the stage, and they're very beautiful. But every match has to go up on top. The point of it is you're supposed to keep the match inside the double ring steel. Okay, War Games, they might go off the top, but there's no lid on their cage, so they can't do that. But every match does not need to go up to the top. A lot of spots. Unlike the women's match, which actually seemed more like a match that floated. I mean, they had spots. This match just seemed like this spot. Okay, guys, now it's your turn. Okay, now it's your turn. Okay, now it's your turn. Okay, now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. Okay, here comes. You knew Mark Briscoe was coming out. And he comes out and he gets the bolt cutters. Okay, as soon as they cut the chain, I'm like, okay, everybody's going to get out. All right. You could see it happening. Unfortunately, which took away from the match. I don't think they need to do the thing on top. It just with the chairs. And speaking of the chairs, the carabiner, he lowers it down. Then they wrap the cage. Right? Then he's pulling him up. And they're showing this entire thing on TV, which had to be the most boring minute or two of the match because he's like, slowly. And then it gets up there, and they got, to me, it looked like it. Maybe I'm wrong. It looked like they got stuck. And the camera crew went, oh, crap, we can't show this. And they had to cut. And then when they come back, he's got him up there because they didn't want to have to show him fumbling. It just seemed like they went, oh, crap, cut, come back. Okay, he's got the chairs up there. Okay, go back to camera. We're good. I don't think it looked to me like they didn't quite think that through too well, which kind of threw off the chair. And why couldn't, he's a strong enough guy. I need some chairs. Throw them up. It's not that high. I could see him hucking a couple chairs up on top. I could see that. Why did he have to do the carabiner and the thing and pull it up? And why do we have to see that on TV? Because it slowed down everything. Right. There was no action happening. You just saw him lifting up chairs. I agree with Bob. Darby's going to kill himself. It's a cage match, blood and guts. They do a spot off the stage through a flaming table. That has nothing to do with the cage. It was help from a guy who wasn't even in the match, Gabe Kidd. He came out and helped out there because we know he's kind of aligned with Death Riders. The spot wasn't necessary, but in Sting's last match where they defended the tag belts against the Bucks, that spot through the plate glass wasn't necessary. Darby is the king of, I'm going to do something insane that's not necessary, but like I said a few weeks ago, he has to do it because that's what the fans want to see. Yep. And when he, kills himself, or not kills himself, hopefully, but, he's injured, he can't wrestle anymore, then the fans are going to go, oh, okay, he's gone. They're not going to care. He doesn't have to do these spots for the fans all the time because if he hurts, they're not going to give a damn. It didn't do anything for the match. It just was the big spot for Darby to do. So. Right. And that kind of, the women's match is more cohesive as well as cohesive you can be in something like this. This one was just one spot. But I do love Claudio Castagnoli. That was my highlight of the match for me in the very beginning when he did the giant swing with Orange Cassidy on his shoulder and swung them. I thought that just, for me, looked great. Right. I love that spot. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. The whole thing. But by the way, Bob Cook being on the show as well. Look, I was a massive Bob Cook fan whenever I was a kid watching pro wrestling. So having them agree to come on this podcast was an absolute dream for me. Although it started a little rough because a couple of things happened, but we did work it out. We have it back on. Now, as far as
what happened? I forgot.
Whenever the whole Hulk Hogan thing, he got booed, and I made a comment to Mark.
That's right. By the way, how old were you when you were a kid?
I was watching you whenever I was about 10, 11 years old.
God, you started drinking young.
Yeah, I did. I was smoking by then. But the whole chair thing. My question was, why did they need so many damn chairs up there? Because they didn't use them except just to kind of put them there to do that power driver, basically, right? Yeah,
it's a visual.
Right, I guess.
It's like a video game. You got all this stuff in the ring you might not use, but it's cool to see it in there.
Right. Yeah, I guess. Overall, guys, I'll be honest with you. As much as I enjoyed the women's match, that was really the only match that I was really like, wow, great match. I would have to give AEW Blood and Guts a C+. I can't go any higher than that. Grizzled, Robbie Idol, and then you, Cooker. What would you guys grade it if you were grading it?
I would give. word? I'd say maybe a B minus, just because of the effort the women put in. I mean, and all that, and so and it was what I expected. I wanted chaos. I wanted crazy shit, and that's what we got. It's just that with the women, it was more cohesive and made more sense, like in a match than the men, which was just one spot after the next. So I'd give it like a B minus.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I was great in match to match, I would give the women's match a B plus. I would, but overall, because of the fact of nothing against Hangman Adam Page, and Powerhouse Hobbs, as you said, I agree. There was nothing that really they could do to make that match so exciting, but nonetheless, it was still there. And then with the men's match being the way it was, I have to stick with the C plus. Robbie Idol, sure will be back. Cooker, what would you give overall the show?
Oh, well, you're not gonna agree, but I give it a B. But I give Megan Bain and Maria Shafir an A plus.
Robbie, what about you, man? What would you grade yourself? By the way, I would grade your internet an F plus plus.
Ooh, is that possible?
I wouldn't even give it the plus. I give it
an F minus. You're right.
How about an FU?
Yeah, an FU, a big FU. The women, I give an A. The match, I give the women's match an A. Again, nothing against Hobbs because they got stuck in the middle there. In the men's, like I said, I would grade it a C. Those two matches kind of killed it. I was happy with the women. It lived up to what I was looking for, expecting, and everything. Like I said, putting them on first. Afterwards, I was like, well, I saw what I wanted to really see because I figured what I saw from the women, they were the highlight of that whole show. I mean, I think they really did a good job.
Yeah. Overall, what would you give the entire show?
Overall, the entire show, I give it a C.
Okay.
So we got 2 B's and 2 C's.
Yep.
But if you watch that post-show interview that didn't air on the air with Orange Cassidy and the Briscoe kid, it takes the show down to a minus F times 100. Because that was some ignorant stuff. Absolutely ridiculous, nonsensical crap. Where I couldn't even understand the Briscoe kid most of the time. I mean, it's like, good Lord.
Yep.
The only Mitch interview I saw was Tony Storm, and like Bob said, when you let her do an interview thing, what she says is gold.
Right. So this part of the show, I'm going to hand it over to the Grizzled Vet. We're going to be honoring Eddie Guerrero, which he died. Was it 30 years today? 20 years today.
20 years ago today, November 13th, 2005, at the age of 38.
Yep. Take it away, man.
Oh, thank you. You're going to hand this to me.
Absolutely.
Anyways, November 13th, 2005, age of 38, we did lose the great Eddie Guerrero, obviously the youngest of the brothers with the Guerrero family, second generation. His father was Gory Guerrero. His brothers, obviously, Hector, Mondo, and Chavo. Eddie came from a wrestling family known very well in Mexico and Japan, where he wrestled as Black Tiger, also with AAA in Mexico. Did not make his debut over here in the States, though, until the Worlds Collide pay-per-view, which was in 1993. The first.
Wrong.
Not wrong. Okay.
He wrestled Terry Funk in 1989. Yes, it was a match where Terry beat him, but oh my God, he was there.
Okay, I don't remember that one. Okay, Bob corrects me on that one. That's why I like having Bob here. Anyways, when we first saw him on American television, that we can remember, it's going to be the Win Worlds Collide pay-per-view, Art Barr and Eddie Guerrero, in the hair versus hair match. And, Eddie is, it's hard to say how, Eddie was one of the greats. Eddie is one of those that we're always going to remember. You're never going to forget. And I think we all remember where we were, what was going on when, Eddie Guerrero passed away. What I'd like to do is, and I don't like to go over history. I don't like telling the same stuff that you can go and look up. I like to share stories. I'd like to know if Robbie or Bob ever worked with Eddie. Did you know Eddie? You have any Eddie stories you can share? Because I just like to pay tribute by sharing stories about, Eddie, not, reciting endless, factoids about him.
No, Eddie was kind of after I, made his name after I was gone, but I never did. I don't think I ever even met him. I wrestled Hector Guerrero once when he was Lasertron back in '87 at the Eddie Graham Sports Complex. But what put Eddie Guerrero on the map in America was really Dean Malenko. Those matches in ECW, but holy mackerel.
And that was after the Worlds Collide.
Yeah, but still.
That was in ECW. Well, yeah, his final match in ECW where he once again wrestled Malenko, you can find it on video. The wrestlers come out to surround the ring and the fans are chanting, "Please don't go," because he's going over to WCW at that time and leaving ECW. And obviously ECW had a very strong fan base. They didn't want Eddie to go. And he went on to WCW, obviously goes on to WWE. First run in WWE, though, not the best, obviously. Came in 2000, only there for a year. Got let go due to substance abuse and, alcohol. So he was let go. Came back, though. And then when he came back, that's the run in WWE that Eddie Guerrero was known for. He came back, he fought his demons, and he came back to, wrestle and have a great career, obviously. Only held the WWE title once, obviously defeating Brock Lesnar at No Way Out, San Francisco.
But didn't someone interfere in that?
Well, yes, that was interfered with Goldberg to set up Brock Lesnar and Goldberg at WrestleMania. And we all know how Goldberg and, Brock Lesnar went at WrestleMania.
Was that what Steve Austin was the referee?
Steve Austin was the referee.
Okay, just wondering.
Goldberg and Lesnar, and they were both leaving.
Unlike Robbie Idol, I want to keep my memory fresh. I just don't want it to deteriorate.
Austin was the referee. Goldberg his contract was ending. That was the end of his last match in his contract, so he was leaving. Lesnar was leaving to go to play football for the Minnesota Vikings, or try to play football for the Minnesota Vikings. And the fans basically shit all over the match because they booed everything, because they knew they were leaving. They didn't give a damn. The only thing they cheered was when Austin centered both of them.
Right. Now,
Eddie Guerrero wrestled Kurt Angle with the spot where just recently we saw Dominic Mysterio, Eddie's son, do the same bit with the loose boot, and Angle went for the ankle lock, and Eddie's
son.
Eddie's son Dominic, man. That's we all know that. We all know
my favorite match, and when I was really introduced to Eddie Guerrero was actually, it was a cruiserweight match, and it was a Halloween Havoc against Rey Mysterio. To me, that was the best match of the night. That was phenomenal. And my second favorite match with him actually was Los Guerreros versus Benoit and Angle. You want to talk about having 4 men in the ring? That was just absolutely, amazing. It was that match right there for myself. Go ahead, Grizzle.
Well, right, and Ray and Eddie at Halloween Havoc is still considered one of the greatest cruiserweight matches of all time. If you do a top 10, even a top 5 list, that match is going to be in there. That's been said by multiple wrestling experts, multiple historians. That's even been said by Ray himself. It's one of his favorite matches of all time. They tore it up, and in WWE they did the same thing. We all remember the feud between Eddie and Ray when we found out that Eddie's saying that Dominic is his son. They had the custody of Dominic match. While not a great storyline, with the papers and we got a ladder match between Ray and Eddie at SummerSlam, which was an amazing match. The feud ended with a cage match. Right. Eddie was just gold in that ring. I got the chance to see him wrestle live at a couple house shows in Redding, California, back home, and they were great matches, and these were house show matches, but Eddie went out there and still put on a show and he said this in interviews, and he says it in his book, the fans buy the ticket and he's there. They're there to see him. He's there to entertain them, and that's what he's going to do. So it didn't matter if it was WrestleMania. It didn't matter if it was, the Royal Rumble, or whether it was a world title match, or he was the second match on the card against it. He was there to entertain the fans. He was there to entertain the fans who bought the ticket. Nowadays, ticket prices, it's all about, I'm at WrestleMania. You don't care who's on the card anymore. You just say you're going to WrestleMania. Back when Eddie was wrestling, you went there because I want to go see Eddie Guerrero. I want to go see Chris Benoit. I want to go see John Cena. You went to see the talent, and they knew that, and they put on a show.
Right.
I'm sure there were guys back in the day. I want to go see Bob Cook. I would have went to go see Bob Cook.
Oh, I doubt that.
I'd have been there in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Robbie, did you ever have the opportunity to meet or face Eddie?
No, I did not. I got to meet Hector, but I did not get to meet. I was gone by the time Eddie got there, so I was gone. So I never got to meet him or anything. But I did meet Hector, and he was wrestling in RWA, and I was color commentating, and so I got to meet him and stuff. If Eddie was anything like Hector, super nice guy. I mean, Hector was a great guy, so it would have been great to meet him. Would have been great to work him. Unfortunately, I was gone by the time Eddie got there.
Right.
I might have met him in '89 because I was there. I just don't remember meeting him. But Hector comes to our Legends lunches.
I've never met Hector.
Yes.
I've met Mondo on multiple occasions.
Well,
he was a school teacher.
Hector's good friends with Jay Goodley, right?
Right.
Okay. But I mean, I also met him in the RWA because I guess Billy knew him also. So I had met him back in the RWA days.
Yeah, I mean, look, when we all got word that Eddie died, it was Raw. Well, it wasn't SmackDown.
He passed away. It was on a Sunday. Raw and SmackDown. They did the tributes shows, kind of like what they did for Owen Hart when he passed away. Back in then. They did the tribute shows for Eddie.
What I was getting to was, I personally didn't find out until that I think it's a Monday night for Monday Night Raw. And I tell you, to show the type of man Eddie Guerrero was, his true character of a human being, was you were able to see how many people's lives he actually touched during that tribute show. There wasn't a dry eye. And let me tell you, I'm not a very emotional guy. I don't cry for movies. My wife's the crier. I drive her nuts. We'll watch this sappy movie, and nothing wrong with it if you cry for it. That's just not me. But I have to tell you, I remember sitting on the couch that night watching this, and I sobbed like a baby. Because we didn't just lose again a great wrestler. We lost a great human being, a man who truly had a story that was so uplifting, that was inspiring, about being able to overcome all of these things in your life, that no matter how bad the demons may be, you can overcome them and you can become successful. That's who Eddie Guerrero was.
I was actually on a road trip. There's a gentleman named Frank Culbertson. He promoted Portland wrestling in Portland, Oregon, obviously. And a friend of mine and I had just come back from a weekend up in Portland for the Portland Wrestling TV tapings and all that. Just got home that night, the Sunday afternoon. And I went on the computer, okay, I'm going to go on, got relaxed, turned on the computer, go on the internet. And the first thing I see is, and the headline they had up there was, wrestling legend Eduardo Gordy Guerrero. And I'm like, Eduardo. It took me a second because they didn't say Eddie Guerrero. They used his full name. And it caught me. And like I said, I'd been on a road trip, 8-hour drive up there, maybe a couple hours of sleep. So tired. And it hit me. I actually, it didn't take me raw. I cried watching it on, reading the story on the computer, and then of course, Raw, when you see, and, although his career didn't been the best way, but when you see Chris Benoit on that stage, just openly sobbing, it kind of hits you because,
oh my God,
we're men, we're not supposed to cry. And he was just openly weeping over the loss of this friend.
That man, that got me because I was a Benoit fan. And by the way, anyone who may be watching this, if that offends you, turn the fucking podcast off then, because I'm going to tell you right now, I was a Benoit fan. I don't, again, I will say if that offends you, I don't give a shit if you unsubscribe. I was a Benoit fan, what he did for the rest of the business. And to see him sob and to break down the way he did over Eddie, they were such good friends. That made it even so much more difficult than what it already was. Robbie, where do you remember the moment you found out he passed away?
It would have been on Monday Night Raw. So I found out on Monday Night Raw.
Yep. Bob, I know you and I talked about this a little bit before we went live. You found about, I think you say you on the radio, you were on the road, right?
Yeah, I used to work for an airport limo service, and I was on my way to the airport to pick up someone. And my son called me and told me that he died, and it hit me just like I got to go. And I just started crying. And I never met the guy, but he was a fantastic. As for Benoit, great wrestler, was always an asshole to me, and I knew Nancy very well. So fuck Chris Benoit. Sorry for the language.
No, look, this is about Eddie. I don't want to go off Chris Benoit thing, and I agree with you. I'm not talking about him as a human being.
I know,
right?
I know.
But as a wrestling, fan, what he did is what I'm talking about. But I completely agree with you as far as his actions go. But again, this is about Eddie. It just as the Grizzled Vet, said, seeing someone like Chris Benoit, man's man, he really was, to this hit him so hard, it really drove it home and made it even more difficult, in my opinion. Go ahead, Grizzled.
I got a story I can share, and this relates to Cauliflower Alley Club. They honored the Guerrero family at one of their, I think it was the Tuesday. At that time, I think it was still the Bologna Blowout, whatever they call it now on Tuesday nights. It was
Bockwinkel.
Is it still the Bockwinkel Blowout now? Okay.
I think so.
Not this year.
I haven't been to the CAC in 10
Okay.
years, unfortunately, so I didn't know if they had changed the name on a Tuesday. But anyways, they were honoring the Guerrero family. And I was at the reunion with a friend of mine, his wife, and another friend of mine. And we're sitting at one of the tables, and a gentleman walks up and he says, "Oh, do you mind if I sit here?" And it was Mondo. And we're all like, "Well, hell yeah, I mean, Mondo Guerrero. Yeah. We had, a bunch, because there's like 10 chairs per table, and we had like 4 people. So he's like, he goes, "Oh, my mother's coming, my sister cooking, her kids. So the family's gonna be here." We're like, "More than welcome. It's Mondo Guerrero, no problem. We're not gonna say no to this guy." I had printed out some pictures because just a few weeks prior to Eddie's death, he wrestled, as I said, at a show in Redding, California, and I had taken pictures of the match. It was a triple threat match between Guerrero, Batista, and Randy Orton. Batista was the champion at the time. And I had taken pictures at the show, and I had about maybe 12 that came out pretty good. I had printed them out 4 to a sheet, and I was going to give them to the family, because I knew they were going to be there. So I printed them out, had them, photo paper, laminated, made all look pretty, I wanted to give them to the family. I had them sitting on the table. Mondo looked at him. He wanted to know who the tag was. He thought it was a tag match. We're like, no, it's triple threat. And so we're talking. He said, "Okay, my mama's she's going to see these pictures. She's going to cry. She's going to cry." I'm like, okay. So I have the picture sitting there. Family shows up. The kids see them first. Some of Eddie's nieces and nephews see him first. And the nephew's like, "Uncle Eddie." And he gets all excited because he's seeing pictures of Uncle Eddie. And I'm kind of like, "Oh, all right, cool." So they're looking at him. Well, then Mondo takes him and hands him over. And he says, "Mama, look at the pictures." And she's looking at him. And she openly, gets it and just starts crying, like tears rolling down her cheeks. Well, I'm glad I gave her that moment to have these pictures, because these are some of the last pictures ever taken of her son. I can honestly say that, but to see her cry, I felt bad because I didn't want the woman to cry, but obviously I knew that this is a sentimental thing for her and all that. And she had the pictures. People were taking photos with her like all night after the banquet, was over. And every picture she's taking, she was holding the pictures of Eddie. I'd see her taking a picture with this person. Like, she got a picture taken with Sergeant Slaughter, and she's holding the pictures. I think Sarge is holding one of the sheets of pictures. She held on to those pictures the entire night. She never put them down. She took pictures with people with those photos in her hand. And I just thought that was and that's kind of like my Guerrero story. And I sent them the rest of the photos I had from the match, but I had picked out 12 specific, Eddie posing on the turnbuckle, coming to the ring, stuff like that. But that's kind of my connection, as little as it is, to Eddie Guerrero, was getting to present those pictures to his mother and all that. And it's something I still remember. I'll have to find it. I've got a picture of me with her and obviously those photos. But, that's kind of my Guerrero story. And it's always one that I'm going to remember. I'm going to share. I got to sit with the family, and I got to give them something that, not a lot of people are going to be able to do.
It's so hard to see, these legends, or even the family of these legends, when you go to something like this, when there's a video package or something and that you're at, and to see these people break down. And I shared this. Robbie and I were talking about this this August at the CAC, the 59th annual reunion. Bushwhacker Luke was there, and we just lost Hulk Hogan not too long before this, and the CAC put together this video package, not just with not just pay a tribute to Hulk Hogan for losing Hulk Hogan, but all the people we've lost here recently in professional wrestling. I get emotional even talking about this, and to see people like Luke, Bushwhacker Luke, to see the Cuban assassin sitting there grieving. Oh man, it's hard.
Well, it's like
It's
Rock
hard.
Riddle said one time.
Yeah.
Love Rock Riddle. Rock's like one of my favorite guys to talk to.
Yep.
And
yeah, he's great.
He said it best. This is why you got to go to the CAC. And I haven't been there, like I said, in 10 years. I'm trying to make it there next year. I've kind of got a plot in mind. So KG, you might have me following you around like a little shadow for 3 days, but I'll try not to annoy your wife.
Yeah.
But you got to go to these, because you go to one and then the next year you come and you go, and you realize they're gone. This might be your last chance to see, one of those guys. And some of the guys I've seen are no longer with us, but I met Nick Bockwinkel at my first CAC reunion. The missing link, Dewey Robertson, met him, Gary Hart, just so many guys I've had a chance to see that are no longer with us. And that's kind of one of the things about it. If you get a chance to meet these guys, take the chance.
Absolutely.
Go up and introduce it, because one day they're not going to be here, but you'll have that memory.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
I have that memory with the Guerrero family.
Yeah, and absolutely. And we'll on this story. I don't remember. I think it might have been Mr. Hurt, but it might have been someone else that got up there during one of the luncheons this year at the 58th annual reunion, and they pretty much said what you said, Grizzled Vet. And they said, look around. Some of us might not be here next year. Not because we don't want to, but because we've lost them. And I remember leaning over to my wife, and I'm like, man, it's kind of fucking morbid. And a little bit, maybe, but it's true, though. But my point is, it's true. Our heroes, right? Professional wrestling fans, our heroes are now up in age. And that's the reality we're facing is, I'm not talking about your old ass Bob Cook. I'm talking about a lot lot older than you. But that's the reality is we're losing our some of our legends here. And you watch these guys on TV and you forget that they're a human being. You really do. In your mind, they're going to live forever. And that's not the case. And that's why it is so important to do things like joining the CAC so that your money can go to helping a lot of these men and women who hit on hard times. But to also have the opportunity to go to these things, these reunions, so you can meet these people that had such an influence in our lives, because you just never know when that might be your last opportunity to ever meet these men and women. Hate to end this on such a sad note, but
let's end it on. I have a Guerrero story.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
And you could end it on a happy note, sort of. Me and my friend Robert, who used to be a much closer friend, we went to Jack Briscoe's funeral, which was sold out with all the big stars. But afterwards, we went to Jerry Briscoe's house for whatever you call that after a funeral. And Haku was there, Ricky Santana, Cuban Assassin, Brian Blair, Bugsy McGraw, Terry Funk, Dory Funk, and Chavo Guerrero Sr. And we all sat out by the pool, drinking and listened to Terry and Chavo Guerrero's stories, which were gold. That's my Guerrero story.
Yeah, there you go. Listen, on that note, guys, please subscribe to the podcast. Also, don't forget, go to Roku, search up ECUSA, download that app, check it out. You can find us there. Show us some support. Show us some love. You can never get enough of Bob Cook. Robbie Idol. You might get a little bit, you may say, I kind of had enough of the Grizzled Vet, but that's okay. We can show him some love too. I know you definitely get sick of me, but that's okay. Show me some love as well. Check us out there. And again, please subscribe to the channel. The more subscribers I have, then the better chance I have of getting some of these legends that I've been so fortunate enough to have
but you
on
won't
this
let me
podcast.
come on to interview them with you. It's okay.
Hey man, you know what? Anyone's welcome. Anyone's welcome to come on. I don't
Well, you
care.
let Robbie Idol on.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm getting a lot of Robbie.
yeah, you know what? Anyone who wants to join an interview that I'm doing, that's fine. You're part of the team. You're invited. Absolutely. Guys, please don't forget about Robbie Idol's book, Looking Up at the Lights.
What about my book?
Buy it. Cooker, do you have a book?
Yeah, it's called The Bob Cook Story, A Life Almost Worth Living. It's right here right now, but it's coming.
I would pay money to read some Bob Cook stories. I ain't gonna lie.
So I
got one about Robbie Idol, but I don't think I can
I'd help
share
write
it.
that. I would have some fun.
Maybe I'll ask his permission if I can share the story.
I'd have some fun working with Bob and hearing some Bob Cook stories.
Well, you know what? You know what? Better yet, check out the interview that I did with Robbie Idol. Check out the interview I did with Bob Cook.
Well, that story's not there.
If I say so myself, I'm a damn good interviewer. Also, guys, check out Grizzled Vet and his radio show, Rasslin Memories. Grizzle, tell them where they can find it at.
Rasslin Memories every Sunday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can just search for Pioneer 90.1 on the TuneIn radio app. You can go to radionorthland.org and stream it live. Bob Cook has been a guest in the past. You can find his show on our archives at radionorthland.org. Robbie Idol is going to be an upcoming guest, so you can look forward to that. And KG, I'll just let it know now. Next week, we're going to have a little more of a lighthearted kind of a history segment because it's coming up. We got to talk about it. We're going to talk about our favorite Survivor Series moments.
That is awesome. So Monday, guys, Eric Stevens, he's going to be on. He's a great guy. You can catch him with the Veterans Pro Wrestling. And then on the 19th, Brian Idol, he's going to be on again. We'll be talking about the controversy going around the AEW and the new belt they're bringing in. Brian kind of made national wrestling news regarding what he had to say about it. On the 20th, somebody's going to be here. And then on the 21st, if you didn't think it could get better than Bob Cook, well, you're wrong, because we're going to have Robert Cook on.
Oh, jeez.
Bob Cook's son, younger, better looking. I'm enjoying it.
No matter what he says, I was never a heroin addict. I only wish I was.
I'm going to enjoy that interview. Until then, guys, you have a great week. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.